Hey guys, MoiDawg here, and today we're taking a look at the next update for Squad, V4.3. With a bunch of new quality of life features, including a quick play button, a complete rework of the Irregular Militia faction, and a surprising amount of gameplay and map changes, for a minor update, V4.3 actually has a lot to unpack. To kick it off, when you start the game, you'll see a brand new loading screen followed by a completely refreshed UI. Comparing the menu to the old one, it's really a night and day difference, with V4.3 not only looking like a modern game, but also giving you a lot easier access to quite a few menu options. In the top left, you'll now see the music player, which gives you the option to hide, skip songs, adjust the volume, or just completely mute it. Now, one of the biggest complaints in past versions of the game was actually that the background menu sounds were insanely annoying. Every time you started the game or you were searching for a game, you would just hear raindrops or choppers flying around. From what I can tell now, there are no longer any type of ambient sounds in the menu. And if you want to turn sound off completely, the mute button here on the music tab makes this whole thing silent. This is probably an unnoticed but really nice quality of life addition that I think many of y'all will appreciate. For the rest of the menu, we have a new and improved news section, a front page suggestion to go try out the tutorial, and a brand new Find Match button. This is a pretty revolutionary way to play Squad, since we've always known that if you wanted to play a game, you would first have to search for a server, and if that server you wanted to play in was queued up, you would have to wait in queue, or skip the queue and instead go help seed a completely empty server. This could take anywhere from 5 minutes up to an hour of not actually playing the game while you're trying to play the game. In V4.3, you can still do all that by going to the server tab here and doing everything the old-fashioned way, but if you don't really care where you're playing and you just want to hop into a game, Find Match will do just that. By default, clicking this button will give you 3 different options for you to select, but you can also turn that off in the filters menu to automatically pick a server for you and send you in queue. If you click the 3 dots to the right, you will now see a filter menu, allowing you to find servers based on a few common options like ping, language, player count, and game modes. Real quick as an aside, I think it's absolutely hilarious that this filter actually starts off with not including destruction as a search option. Like, if this game mode is so bad you don't want to include destruction in the default search terms, then maybe we should either have it completely removed or possibly fixed, right? Anyways, back to the filters. Time is also an option, allowing you to find games that have just started, are in the middle of the match, or possibly coming to an end. This is actually a really nice option since sometimes I like to hop into a server at the end of their round, so my first real game starts off fresh. In addition to those filters, you can also search for games that might fit a certain experience, as OWI calls it. There are now server tags that server owners can add, specified between different types of playstyles and experiences. Playstyle is divided into relaxed, focused, and milsim, while experience is separated into new player friendly and experience preferred. Now, although I like the tags in general, I like the idea of it, I'm not really sure how much I agree with these descriptions. Starting with the playstyles, relaxed is defined as communicate, coordinate, and play for fun, while focused is play the objective, play to win. I don't know about you, but when I am playing quote-unquote relaxed Squad, I will always still play to win. I would argue that most players want to win and most players want to have fun, but I do think there's a distinction between playing the objective and playing to win and try-harding Squad. Like pulling up squad lanes in order to see exactly where the enemy objectives are in random advance and secure, or flying way up high in the helicopter to borderline exploit the skybox and be an unkillable UAV. I feel like making one playstyle be play to have fun and another one be play to win is a little off, and my concern is that people will use those tag descriptions to explain their actions if they do start to have a little bit of, let's just say, trolling or non-objective play while they're in game. Additionally, the tags new player friendly versus experience preferred are just a little off for me as well. Although I agree that new players should be learning the ropes and exploring the game, as it says here, they should also know how to read. And stating that experience preferred servers are the only ones where you should know server rules is just weird. I know this whole thing might be a little nitpicky, but as someone who runs one of the largest squad communities in the game, with the main server being titled The Potato Fields New Player Friendly, I don't agree with OWI's definition of a new player friendly server. I would argue that a new player friendly server is one that encourages team play and teaching, while also playing the objective and playing to win. We actually have extremely experienced long-term squad players with thousands of hours in the game who frequent our server, and the new player friendly tag for us means that you're not going to get flamed or kicked for screwing up. We also have very lax server rules when it comes to things like vehicle claiming, so that way more people can try out vehicles. Additionally, apart from these two experience tags, what public server is actually milsim? I can't think of any pickup game of squad that would actually require you to listen to your commander or squad leader or be kicked for insubordination. Most milsim games in squad are exclusively separate events, usually held in private, passworded custom servers. So including this as a general tag for an incredibly small portion of the community, let alone an almost non-existent portion of the public squad server community, is actually a really odd take. Once again, I think in general tags are a nice idea and they will help players find servers that they might not otherwise know about, but to my knowledge, none of these things were brought up for discussion with the actual people who create and manage squad servers, and instead were just created behind the scenes at OWI. I went to go take a look into our OWI hosting Discord to see if there's any discussion on this, and since I don't think I can actually show anything from that Discord, I will just make the general very vague statement that everything you saw in the patch notes that was published on the website is everything that we saw. The devs announced that these are the tags that we would have to use, and it took us all by complete surprise. For a game that literally lives or dies on its community, since we are the ones providing the servers, some discussion with us on what would be the best way to handle tags would have probably been the right way to go. It's a little frustrating, and I don't think these tags are the best implementation of what the system could be, but at the end of the day, the find match option paired with this more involved filter and tagging process should definitely help lesser known servers populate a little bit more, which is ultimately a good thing for the community. Now, the last thing I will mention about servers and the menu UI is that the favorites button finally appears to be working. In addition, we also have a newly implemented recently played server list, so if you want, you can simply go check out your favorites or see the servers you just played if you want to rejoin. Now, moving on to the real meat of this update is the completely reworked militia faction. Irregular Militia has had a complete overhaul in V4.3, with the devs stating that they wanted to bring it on par with the other factions in game, as well as giving them their own unique playstyle. Because of this, they have reworked all of the weapons, all of the kits, redone and added some new vehicles, and even messed around with the FOB deployables. Essentially, we have a brand new faction in squad. To begin, Irregular Militia squad leaders now have the best variety when choosing their kit compared to all the other squad leaders out there. SL1 will use the AKS-74U with the new 45 round banana mag, and this thing is hilariously fun to shoot. When going full auto, it really feels like you'll just never run out of ammo, and this giant magazine looks pretty awesome when you go to reload. Unchanged is the SL2 kit, which has the M4 and M68 optic, and SL3, which has the AKS-74 and 1P29 or inverted scope. However, Squad Lead 4 and 5 now include much more conventional Russian optics plus grenade launchers. Yes, Squad Lead 4 will use the AK-74 and 1P63 optic, have the ability to fire both colored smoke and 2 HE grenades from the GP25 underbarrel grenade launcher, and will also have one of the brand new RKG-3 anti-tank grenades. This is a huge shift from what squad leaders can typically use in squad, and I absolutely love it. The RKG-3 anti-tank grenade is kind of like a throwable heat round. Its intended use is for top-down attacks, and when thrown, it will actually activate a small parachute to help itself level out and ensure a top-down impact happens. Because of this, you don't want to try and hit the vehicle directly by throwing it into the side of it with the grenade, but instead you want to toss it slightly above the vehicle to maximize chances of a top-down impact. And in case you were wondering, yes, if you throw it straight above you, it will land pretty much on top of you. While SL4 has the close quarters capabilities with the anti-tank grenades and a short range optic, SL5 has the AK-74 with GP25 underbarrel grenade launcher, as well as the long range 1-piece 7.8 optic. This is the first time that Irregular Militia has had an optic like this, and it will make squad leaders that much more effective in firefights. And that's not even talking about the grenade launcher. Overall, these SLs have been buffed immensely, and my biggest issue whenever I was trying to squad lead as Irregular Militia is that I just really didn't like the weapons, and it was really hard for me to see while organizing my squad. Now I can not only be effective in firefights, but I also have a few little tricks up my sleeve if we get into some contact. With the medics, you will no longer have access to the FAL, but instead, Medic 1 will have the Iron Sight AKS-74U and the standard 30-round mag, and Medic 2 will have the AK-74 and 1P29 optic. For Crewmen, the kit is pretty much unchanged and will still use the AKS-74U. Just like the squad leaders, Militia Riflemen will have a wide variety of weapons to choose from. Riflemen 1 and 2 will be your go-to close quarters kits, using the FN FAL and M4, both with iron sights. For mid-range, Rifleman 3 will have the AKS-74 and 1P63 optic, while Rifleman 4 will use the M4 and M68 optic. Your long-range options are Rifleman 5 with the AKS-74 and 1P78, and Rifleman 6 with the SKS and PU scope. Overall, this is a refreshing selection to choose from, and it no longer feels like Militia Riflemen are simply blind firing when in combat. Next, we have a completely new role to the game, the Ambusher. This class is intended to ambush and destroy vehicles and infantry, and as such have both anti-infantry and anti-vehicle weapons, all potentially hidden by the brand new camouflage netting. The personal camouflage net is a deployable that you can place, and once it's shoveled up, it will copy the base terrain it was deployed on in order to create a proper concealment zone. Just like the other camo nets you might have seen on Habs, visibility is one way, making it so that you can see out of it easily, but it's practically impossible to tell if anyone is on the inside when you're looking from the outside. This is actually a really fun feature, but my only concern now is that this could really be spammed. In the future, I wouldn't be surprised if these camo nets kind of act like mines, and if you try to place a second one, it will actually just delete your first one. Either way, absolutely love it, and it's a fun, nice addition to the militia kit. In addition to the camo nets, Ambusher 1 is equipped with the Iron Sight FAL, but has a rifle grenade launcher attachment, which allows them to fire 5 frag rifle grenades. These rifle grenades are absolutely enormous and can range accurately for 40, 60, or 80 meters. They are pretty cool looking and pretty fun to shoot, but it takes a little bit to get the hang of it since it really feels like you're firing off a mortar round at the end of your rifle. Ambusher 2, on the other hand, has the Iron Sight M4 with 2 frag grenades and 2 of the new RKG-3 anti-tank grenades in addition to that camo net. For Automatic Rifleman, we have 2 kits. Automatic Rifleman 1, which has the Iron Sight Mini-Me and a grenade, and Automatic Rifleman 2, which will have the RPK-74 and 1P78 optic. Auto Rifleman 2 is actually a huge upgrade for Militia, and it should be important to note that both of these weapons will not have any tracer rounds, making it much harder to spot where the rounds are coming from when you're on the receiving end of them. The next new role is the Infiltrator. Intended to get up close and personal, the Infiltrator will be equipped with the AKS-74U and 45-round banana mag. And when you run out of ammo, you can swap to a Scorpion as your secondary. Blow through all that, and you still have 2 frag grenades and 4 RKG-3 anti-tank grenades. The Infiltrator looks incredibly fun if you're able to close the gap and you aren't fighting long-range fights, and I absolutely love the fact that the Scorpion is a bit of a meme weapon, but it's now actually on a real kit. For Grenadiers, we now have 2 separate distinctions, an RPG Grenadier or a Grenade Launcher Grenadier. GL1 is equipped with the Iron Sight M4, 2 frag grenades, and 5 RPG-7 frag rounds, making it one of the best long-range anti-infantry kits in the game now. GL2, however, will be your standard AK-74 and GP25 underbarrel grenade launcher with 10 40mm HE grenades and smoke. I really think both of these kits have advantages and disadvantages. However, I know that personally, I'm a huge RPG fan, so 5 frag rounds sounds insanely fun for me. Surprisingly, light anti-tank roles are also divvied up between RPGs and grenade launchers. Lat 1 will use the same foul rifle grenade attachment, but instead will be able to fire 5 heat rifle grenades. Lat 2 will be a bit more of your standard anti-tank role with the AKS-74 and 1 P29 optic, but instead has 2 RPG-7 heat rounds and 2 frag rounds. This is a really unique and fun way to divvy up lat kits, and I am 100% on board with more interesting ways to play squad. And honestly, 2 lat roles in a squad are going to play completely different, which I think is just really cool. Speaking of playing completely differently, the Irregular Militia Marksman is completely unchanged. Yep, no, nothing special for the Marksman. I thought they might also get a type of camo net, but no cool additions, and you are still equipped with the scoped SVD. For specialists, machine gunners will be happy to learn that they will finally be able to see what they're shooting at. The PKM is now getting the 1P29 optic, and just like the automatic rifleman classes, they will be equipped with rounds that have no tracers. The heavy anti-tank role has also been buffed so that both of the kits can actually destroy a heavy vehicle like a tank without going back to rearm. Hat 1 has the AKS-74U, 2 RPG frag rounds, and 2 RPG-7 tandem rounds, while Hat 2 has the FOW with the RPG-29 and 2 tandems as well. Finally, the Militia Sapper has been replaced by the Saboteur. As a Saboteur, you'll have the AKS-74U, 3 explosive charges, and 3 anti-tank mines. And in saying that, I'm sure a few of y'all realized it, but yes, this is confirming that Irregular Militia will no longer have IEDs, making the IED an insurgent exclusive. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna miss the IEDs, but Militia has so many ways to blow things up now that I really don't think it's needed. I know I might be alone in thinking that they don't need IEDs, so I'm curious y'all's thoughts on if this is a good or bad move for the faction. Now, before we move on to vehicles, I also want to point out that there are new reload animations for the AK series weapons. If you were paying attention, you might have noticed that there are now 2 new reload animations for Militia. There's a quicker tactical reload for when ammo is still in the current magazine, and there's also what is known as the Iraqi reload for when the magazine is empty. It's really cool to see investment from the studio into new animations, because this is something that was honestly completely unnecessary, but 100% awesome. Insurgents will also be able to use these animations. However, conventional factions like the Russian ground forces who use the AK series weapons will still retain the older animations. Militia will also be receiving a bunch of updated and newly added vehicles, with the first being a new fleet of armored trucks, including armored transport, Logis, 50 cal, SPGs, and Dishka Techies. Honestly, these things look a little jank and are kind of a pain to drive since you can't really see, but they give much better protection, especially since many times one helicopter with a door gunner can completely knock out a lightly skinned Logi. And although they're not new vehicles, the SPG-9 and BMP-1 have had significant changes to their arming distances. The arming distance of the BMP-1 and SPG-9 has been reduced from 35 meters to 6 meters, and recoil impulse has been lessened. These changes should make these weapons much more effective in combat, in addition to bringing their values more in line with authenticity. And finally, I know a lot of you guys were waiting for this part of the video. The biggest addition to the game is the new BM-21 Grad Rocket Artillery Truck. It's the first multiple launch rocket system, or MLRS, to be added to the game, and it can fire 40 122mm rockets, and it looks and sounds awesome. The Grad will only be available on extremely large maps, and although the real-world variant can hit targets at over 50 kilometers away, in order to make it fun and engaging within a game of squad, the minimum range has been set to 900 meters with a max of 1500. It can be fired and aimed a bit like the rocket truck or mortar, and each rocket must be clicked with your left mouse button in order to fire it. The reload itself just takes over 5 minutes, 340 seconds to be exact, and will cost you 2,000 ammo in order to replace all 40 rounds. And I really hope this edition is the first of many types of indirect, non-commander controlled strikes. As cool as commander artillery or airstrikes are, working with your team to coordinate a huge grad barrage that you set up yourself is actually a lot more rewarding than simply clicking a button. To wrap the faction up, we also have a new set of deployables and emplacements to complement the rest of these changes. As a squad leader, you can now fortify your FOB with dirt-filled ammo boxes. In addition to sandbags and logs, these ammo box positions offer good protection and fighting positions for infantry. You can select between the high or low wall or one with firing ports, which also has the camo netting on the outside for concealment, not unlike the firing port sandbag versions. After fortifying, you obviously want to hide, right? Well, Irregular Militia now have 3 separate choices of camouflage netting: the lean-to, a camo net wall, and a large canopy. Between the 3 of these, nearly everything on the FOB can be hidden, making it much harder for helicopters to spot from above, as well as infantry or vehicles trying to make out HABs or fighting positions in trees. For defensive options, Militia will also now have access to the ZIS-3 76mm field anti-tank gun. This is an old Soviet World War II weapon, and as such isn't going to one-shot a modern tank, but it can do some serious damage to any vehicle unlucky enough to get in front of it. The ZIS can fire heat, frag, and even smoke rounds, which actually makes it only the second emplacement that can deploy smoke apart from mortars. The cherry on top of all this, tank traps and hull down positions. Yes, we can finally deploy tank traps in order to force vehicles off of the main roads and into more favorable ambush positions for our field guns, which can also then be fortified by the brand new hold down defensive emplacement. This hold down emplacement allows both the T-62 and BMP-1 a perfect spot to poke their turret out and engage the enemy while keeping the hull and engines safe. Hold down is something players have been asking for ages, and I know I've personally made some DIY hold down positions with sandbags in the past, so this is amazing to finally see the real thing. All of these changes here are complemented by a new vehicle camo, a new flag, new voice lines, and a new logo, and I've got to say, the faction feels great. The weapons, vehicles, deployables, they all synergize really well, and the faction as a whole has a playstyle that actually feels different. This isn't just a cookie cutter faction anymore, and if you play it as you would play Russia or the US or even the insurgents, you're probably not going to do well. For the past day or so, I've been spectating matches, and the ones who really lean into that ambush style, more defensive, hidden concealment gameplay are the ones that are coming up on top. That completes the Militia faction, but despite this being a minor update, we still have a few other big changes in V4.3. First off is the removal of the map Manic 5. Manicougan essentially is a squashed down Manic 5, reducing a lot of the insane height, which both caused infantry and vehicle movement problems, as well as encouraging these long-range tow fobs from the dam and cliff sides. As much as I like the idea of Manic, it was really one of my least favorite maps, and I felt like it would just take ages to get from firefight to firefight, and so I am very happy to see this completely reimagined in Manicougan. There are 21 layers on Manicougan, including 7 different invasion layers and even a seeding layer, so expect to see a lot of this map in the next few weeks, especially since there is quite a bit of Irregular Militia on it. Finally, there are also a few gameplay changes included in V4.3, most notably the removal of ticket bleed from random advanced and secure layers. Now, you will still get a minus 60 tickets per minute mercy bleed if you lose every single objective, but with this change, you will no longer be on a -1 ticket or -2 ticket bleed if you are down a couple flags. The devs state that this is intended to incentivize more dynamic movement along the flag lattice, affording teams that have been pushed off a middle flag a lot more time to stabilize, reconstitute, and strategically plan a counterattack. I actually think this is a good change, and I always thought it was a bit rough going down on a ticket bleed just a few minutes into the game simply due to random advance and secure. Even if you had an idea of where the points might go, just because the enemy team was a little bit randomly closer to the other one and were able to cap the middle point faster than you, it kind of feels cheap that you are now being punished for it, when realistically speaking, in about 10 or 12 minutes, you could probably fight them off the point and start rolling them back. However, the change I am a little concerned about is the removal of the -10 ticket loss every time you lose a flag in Advanced and Secure, Random Advanced and Secure, and Skirmish. Currently, teams that lose a flag are already at a large detriment due to having lost ground in key strategic land areas. They're likely having lost 1 or more FOBs in the area, and each FOB is 20 tickets. They likely have lost several infantry tickets from give-ups, and they've maybe lost some additional vehicles and Logis, which also cost tickets, or maybe they've just simply disabled vehicles on the lost flags, which now cannot be used to resupply or quickly rebuild FOBs. The removal of the 10 ticket loss whenever you lose the point is intended to make losing flags less of a blow to the overall battle. I mean, I may come off as a little blunt here, but if you lost a flag, there should be consequences. Losing tickets because of a flag is actually one of the reasons why it's not always good to build a FOB on the objective, since you can lose both really quickly. And the odd thing is, this change removes the 10 ticket loss when you lose the flag, but there's still a 60 ticket gain for capturing an objective. So theoretically, you could have a game of random advance to secure or advance to secure last the entire 2 hours if teams kept swapping points and recapturing, capturing, recapturing the entire time. Out of everything that needs changing in the game, like fixing the insurgency and destruction game modes, the ticket loss mechanic really wasn't even on my radar. So I'm curious to see the implications of it over the next month or so, since I think this is going to lead to some very, very long games of squad. To wrap it up, there are a couple other smaller changes like seeding modes now requiring only one player to cap the point, animation and texture updates, and plenty of bug fixes. So if you do want to see all these patch notes, I've included it in the description down below. But what do you guys think of V4.3? Are you happy with the militia changes? Are you going to miss Manic 5? Or are you just relieved that we didn't get a dabbing emote? Let me know in the comments down below, and if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Additionally, I did want to remind everyone that if you do enjoy the channel and you would like to support it further, I have completely refreshed and revamped my Patreon. From behind the scenes screenshots and videos to some early access, one-on-one questions, and even a secret Discord. For as low as $1, you get access to all of this stuff. And if you do like series like Eye in the Sky, I do have a vote just for Patreon members where you can choose one specific matchup for Eye in the Sky each month. This is all completely voluntary, and all of my original regular content on YouTube is never going to require a Patreon subscription. So thank you in advance if you choose to support further. But if you don't, thank you so much for getting to the end of this video and sitting back and enjoying it. But that's it for me. Enjoy Squad V4.3, and I'll see you out there. Until next time, peace.